content is for informational and educational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained here constitutes a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments whatsoever by Goren Blockchain, aka DGB, the presenter, or other associated parties for the content being provided. Please do your own due diligence and seek proper counsel.
Boom.
Oh, welcome.
What's up? Good morning, everyone.
Yeah.
And people,
So,
people are coming.
It's been quiet in the crypto space. At least it feels like it. And last night, I didn't send an invite out to our Bitcoin meetup, what we usually do, just because I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about. And it's nice when it's a small group sometimes, because when it's a smaller group, you can just have these smaller conversations and appeal more to the audience, And so last night, we only had there's two people at my group that are there every week with me, right? Yeah. And so it was a small group, 3 of us, and then 3 more people came. So we had a total of 6 people last night. It was good. One of our guys brings food every week, which is always nice, off the pizza. And then one of the people who came out of random was a guy named Chico Crypto on YouTube and Twitter. He's been in. He is a YouTuber that has been doing crypto YouTube since 2017. And that's when he walked in, I said, "So what are you doing?" And he's all like, "Oh, I'm a YouTuber." And I was looking at him, he's all Chico Crypto, and I was like, I know exactly who you are. So
I'm looking up his YouTube channel on Lunar Crush right now to see the stats.
Oh yeah, no. So it was interesting. We were talking about his YouTube channel last night, and it was one of those nights that I was I had came up with a plan. I was this guy there's a new guy who comes all the time to our crypto meetings, and last time he was like, "Oh man," he's all, "I don't know any of the definitions of crypto, right?" And so I was like, okay, fine. Then what we're going to do is, I'm going to have a slide deck ready for this guy if he shows up tonight, just to be able to go over definitions of crypto, right?
Yeah.
Of course, he didn't show up. That's how it always is. But Chico Crypto came up, so it was awesome. We just had this low-key conversation just between 6 people, and talking about his YouTube channel, just talking about what he thought of the crypto market. He took a sabbatical for a bit. He's actually changing up his channel and is actually coming to my area, it sounds like. So I'm looking forward to hanging with him some more and talking more crypto. But nice. It was it's man, I love the crypto space. The people you run into in the crypto, it's such a small world that you just connect all the time. So
is he anonymous, or does he show his face and everything?
Oh no, he's on YouTube. He's on his face is all over YouTube.
Okay, cool. We can have him on here too. And
absolutely. I will invite him. He's changing up his style a little bit on the whole crypto scene, or his channel. But I look forward to watching his videos again. And so anybody, if you haven't checked out Chico Crypto, take a look at him. He provides some good content. He's one of the better ones, I would say, out there in the YouTube world, where a lot of scams are out there. He's probably the safer.
It's it's really tough, right? Because there are people who are really smart and create good content, and then there's so much noise. I had actually, I won't say it. One of my portfolio companies CEOs sent me, the latest buzzword is, RWAs, right?
Yep.
So real world assets. And he sent me this video, and it was here's the future of crypto or something, future of RWAs. And it was some couple of dudes. One of the dudes didn't have his shirt on, and he had a masseuse massaging him while he was recording this podcast, talking about how real world assets on chain are the future. And it was such a joke. It was so stupid. But
he's showing you how successful he is.
Exactly. There are people who see that, right? And who go, oh shit, this guy knows what's up. He's like ripped and he's got someone massaging him, so he must be like really smart and good at making money. Like it's really bad. And then there's people who are who are awesome, right? Like there's guys like I don't know, Crypto Stash, who is legit knows his shit. Like you see him with a mustache, he's goofy, having fun, kind of like us. We could get pretty silly and dumb in a good way, right? And he's the same way. And you could look at him and go like, oh, some YouTuber playing games and talking about crypto, whatever. But he's an OG and he knows his shit, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it's such a crazy mix.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was.
What did
cool.
you guys talk? What did you guys talk about? Did you figure out how to make Bitcoin go up?
Well, we figured no. We talked
so
about how we think this might be the last major cycle.
Like
right.
It's just becoming like a part of
the idea. The idea was that eventually we're just going to see paper Bitcoin once it's captured by ETFs, and they're going to do what they did to gold to Bitcoin eventually.
So what does that mean? Is just a steady rise along with inflation for
it's going to be all
zoom out from this point on?
I mean, and it's going to be interesting because this is the debate I have amongst my friends. Chico Crypto thinks that we might see one big last cycle. Now he thinks it's going to pump, and then it's going to be like a 10-year struggle, right? Because at some point something's going to happen to the dollar. But the thing I think is going to be interesting is I think they're going to try to control it. I agree with him on that. I think they're going to try to control it with derivative, paper versions of Bitcoin. But it's going to be interesting because we do have a global market, right? And so there will be this controlled price of Bitcoin, and then there'll be a separate market, I think, globally, of people who are actually trying to get on-chain Bitcoin, right? So you're going to have this two different markets, which is going to create an interesting dynamic. Because like right now over in Europe, gold is like dictated by like London, right? They dictate the price of gold, and then the rest of the world kind of follows suit. Well, if it's on-chain and there's only so much, and a protocol is decentralized.
Is there a separate market? Like, is there a separate price for if you want to get like gold from, buy gold with cash, like,
I don't know.
versus buying gold like on some kind of like exchange, like or something? Is there a difference?
There's sometimes people say there was on spot if you were buying physical, but the thing is the problem is they've held down the paper price of gold, right? Now, the thing is if all that derivative paper of gold had to go out and be claimed and realized, for the underlying, for whatever.
Probably wouldn't be enough.
There isn't. There absolutely
it's like dollars, right? It's just
it's like the derivative market of all these assets that if they ever had to go make claims on all these derivative assets, there's simply not enough. And it would be like a short squeeze on GME, right? When they had all these shorts on GME and there wasn't actually enough stock to fulfill the shorts, like the price skyrocketed, right? Now, every gold bug in the world is waiting for that moment. But, things going to keep going for a long time before things actually break.
I don't know. Will they ever? Because that's kind of controlled by banks and institutions, and I don't see human beings going, I don't trust this. I want my gold. I want to redeem my gold. I feel like they're just going to sell it for dollars before that ever happens, right?
I don't know. But then you get people like me who are like, why do I want dollars?
There has to be some big things that happen before that happens, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're giving me a lot of dollars, but I don't want the dollars. I want property. I want something else tangible, and I want to know that it's not going to be taken from me. Like property can be. Unfortunately, it's this Michael Saylor thing. Like this is why Bitcoin is so big, right? What the hell's the term? I'm blanking on it now. Alloidial title, right? That's what I want. I want alloidial title. So alloidial title. Hold on.
What does that mean?
Okay, a loyal title constitutes ownership of real property, land, buildings, and fixtures, whatever, that is independent of any superior landlord, right? So if you own property as a loyal title, there's no taxation on it.
That's not possible in our current structure, right? Like
No,
you'd have to
it
go to
used to
some
be. It used
land
to be.
that doesn't exist in a country, right?
In the old US, when people went out west to stake land and make their claim, they owned it loyally. There was no taxation on land back a long time ago, right?
Is
And you
that
owned it
because it wasn't like a part of the incorporated United
pretty
States?
much,
So you're not really
right?
you're in an independent
Yes. And
place.
as soon as the states established, the states determined that they own the land. They basically seized it, and then you own a contract with the state for that land. And if you don't pay your taxes, they take the land back.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I want the decentralized land. I want that alloidial land back. And Bitcoin is the closest thing right now that we get to that alloidial ownership.
We got to find another. We got to go settle another planet at this point.
Well, right? All this land's been claimed, pretty much. We can't go west anymore, except for the metaverse.
Right.
Which is why I was bullish on metaverse. Now, unfortunately, they still own the server, and the server can be shut down. So it's another problem. But if it can be decentralized enough, then maybe we have some hope.
Yeah. Well, where are those servers? What country are they in? What planet are they on?
Yeah.
Well, there's IPFS.
I sent you some tweets this week, or some messages in the Slack, and I don't know if you looked at them, but I ended up FOMOing into some NFTs this week.
Yeah, tell me about that one. I didn't. I saw it, but I didn't. I wasn't sure if you want to say the things out loud or not.
I don't mind. I won't say the particulars because they can go find them out. So I'm Metaverse is not going to die, even though people think it might die. It might change its name to like Omniverse or something like that, whatever. But the thing is people are still going to do VR down the road. They're still going to play games, and I think the Metaverse is the combination of gaming and Web3 together, right? I mean, realistically, that's what it is. We're part of this metaverse right now in the VR. It's people interacting with one another in a decentralized manner in a gaming system. Yeah. So, anyways, I was on Vibe.io this week, and Vibe.io has like avatars, right, that can be utilized in various games and other platforms, mostly Web3 platforms. And I was over there, and I found a few projects that actually had avatars associated with their NFTs. They're old NFT projects from like the last 2 or 3 years, right? And I was, oh my gosh, these guys created avatars, right? And I was like, this is so cool. And so I ended up going through the different projects that were selling avatars. I found one of them that was like 0.006 ETH.
Yeah.
And and below that, and like at that price, you're paying $15 and you get the free 3D avatar. And I was like, okay, I remember this project back in the day. I don't know what they're doing now, but I'm like, just the fact that they have avatars is cool. And then I I kind of put a snottish statement out there saying that if your NFT project doesn't have an avatar for the metaverse, like your PFP project is probably a second class PFP. But it's if you go through my Twitter,
just causing drama.
No, well, yeah, but it's all right. Nobody watches. Nobody looks at my post, which is okay. It's okay. I'm okay with that. Silent.
You're saying you need to have a PFP or else it doesn't count.
Well, no,
it's not like a serious NFT collection.
No, I'm just saying your PFP should have a 3D avatar with that PFP.
Oh! If you don't give 3D files and 3D stuff,
yeah.
then
if it's just a picture and you can't use it in the metaverse, it's like It's like there's so many other ones out there. Bored Apes. We have a Bored Ape. It's 3D. Right? Every good project right now has a 3D character with it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're lacking. It means you just didn't make enough money in your project.
Well, I remember I was trying to convince people back in the day like we should make some kind of cool project where every single NFT came with that because nobody had done it yet. And I was trying to actually do not like the full 3D file. That would be cool. That's maybe a secondary thing, but I wanted to use the Adobe character animator thing that I had. The problem is you have to kind of have Adobe
2D character would
software.
be cool. Yeah.
Well,
2D character.
or there needs to be some
Animated.
kind of maybe a different, because that thing is really cool. Like the
No,
fact
your
that it
animated
follows your
character is awesome.
face, does the
Yeah.
thing. You could do live streams with it.
Now
I
that would
think
be really cool. That I would okay. I'll take that back. If you had an animated 2D character of your character that came with it, I would be baller. I don't know how that would work, but that would be super cool. That would be
I
super
kind of know you can do it. I don't know how it works with other things other than Adobe Character Animator, but what's kind of cool with that one is you could use
yeah, but you don't want to be
like,
dependent on third-party tools.
I know that's the issue. That's what's cool about those 3D files. They're 3D files that can be used in
Ported
different,
anywhere.
yeah, different software, and there's good open source software for it.
So
As far as I know,
I was impressed. So there was a couple I was looking at. Avastars had one. There was an NFT project called Bookers, another one called Woodies, another one that's called Crypto Avatars and Omnimorphs. So I was just like kind of went wild and went, wow, this is kind of cool. They're all on Vipe.io. And the thing is NFTs are dead, right? So like they're super cheap right now.
yeah.
So I was like, okay. I like that stuff. I don't know.
Oh, I remember Vipe. Now I'm looking at this one. I see.
Yeah, I used Vipe a while ago.
Yeah. This is cool.
So
are they like doing stuff as a company? What is Vipe?
They just do the 3D stuff.
So
and
if
they
you
have a few of their own projects, So Vipe's did the Grifter Squatties. So if you go to their Vipe.io Twitter space, they have their Grifter Squatties NFT, which is their 3D characters.
I remember. Oh yeah, I remember on this one. I was bummed because they had like a thing for the apes, but really it was like some weird 3D character that just had your apes 2D face on it.
So those ones, I'm not down with those. Like they had that for a couple of their projects, and if it's just a generic character, like I'm talking full body character, you have to have a full body character, right?
Yeah. So I got some frog thingy, and I did get some woodies also because
did you have woodies?
I copied you.
You got
literally like 30 seconds ago. I got a few. But this is cool. The woodies are cool. These 3D guys are.
They look really cool. The woodies look cool, and so I call me a sucker, but like I went for it.
Wait, if I do this, what happens? Allow to use my microphone. I'm just seeing if if I can.
The mouth might work. I haven't tried that.
It's not. The mic thing isn't working right now on this thing. What if I click on use avatar? Oh no. Oh, so there's different files you get. I thought you could do it like web-based on here. Maybe not. I'm not sure. No, it doesn't seem to be. And now it's like trying to use my mic in the browser, and I don't want that. So neat. Now I'll play with it more. I was gonna share my screen and try to do the voice.
So
I got
was
a few
impressed.
of these goodies now.
I was impressed. We sweeping the floor. We're probably raising the floor on that a little bit. Not financial advice. Do not buy this for any financial reasons at all. This is purely just because you want to go play in the metaverse with the character.
Yeah. That's funny. You could change the mood of the avatar. Oh no, it doesn't seem to work on this.
That part I didn't try with that. I did play within the game. I took a screenshot and I tweeted that out. I thought that was pretty cool. But that's what I like to look for. I like to look for little things like that, little hidden treasures and NFTs that people don't know about, and be like, okay, here's another use for an NFT that never thought about. I'm glad it was only like 15 or $20.
Yeah.
Versus the 1,000 I've paid for some other things.
Yeah, I spent very little right now to buy a few of them. I think the fee was just as much as, or maybe more than buying them.
Right. Well, I'm amazed. The gas on Goren right now is 8. It's been like 1 and 2.
Well, going back to what you said at the beginning, Bitcoin, like nobody's talking about
Oh, it's
anything,
so
right?
quiet.
It's
It
so
is.
quiet. I think that people are so jaded to swings and things like that I don't know what's it at right now. We're at like 57 or 60K or something like that with Bitcoin at least. And it's like not a thing. It's just
Well,
like, yeah, this is just
maybe they're
normal.
still gambling over on Solana or something like that. But like,
No, I mean maybe, but it's there's just the social activity. People talking about crypto is just so down because um, it's just not exciting, and it needs to hit new heights and new excitement for anything to move the needle now. If you just look at the social metrics, I'm looking at Lunar Crush right now on my phone. It's just like nobody
well, and,
cares.
in aside from Bitcoin, all of a sudden maybe having paper Bitcoin, there is a good potential that we hit a level where we go so high and we retrace back down where people just can't afford to buy enough Bitcoin, right, to really move the needle. Where people
Yeah,
just
that's the narrative thing we've had forever, which is, oh man, Bitcoin's too expensive now for me to buy because I can't afford one whole Bitcoin. And then it
yeah,
just keeps that
it's
kind of narrative keeps always going, and people are like, no, it doesn't matter. Buy a
yeah.
fraction, buy
No, it does.
whatever.
Hey, I tweeted out that I bought $5 on July 4th. Maybe you know what? Actually, was it the
Patriot,
4th?
pa-
And I know, right?
patriotic,
Like
like
that was it the 4th too? I think it was the 4th, July 4th. I bought $5. That's my patriotic contribution to show that I'm patriotic because we don't like what's going on.
yeah. What's July 4th was what, like 55K or something? So you're up on it. I'm
Yeah,
trying to look at
I'm up.
um,
Buy the dips. Buy the dips. Whether it's $5 or $10 or $1, that's out of good practice, I have to buy dips.
I think no, I like that. I think that's cool. I think it's just the volume of participating. Here's what Kevin has to say. We're at the onset of the real bull run. It's only a few months after the BTC halvening. It's historically taken about 6 months to really get there. I think you're probably right. And then there's
Yeah.
the actual thing of
Well,
a couple of unprecedented things. There's everybody's talking about Germany selling, and
yeah,
and then Mount Gox, right?
yeah.
That Mount Gox Bitcoin has been sitting there forever, and I
And they
would
have
bet
to
that
liquidate by September. They have to.
yeah,
From now to September, they have to liquidate.
and they're going to liquidate it, or are they distributing it to the people?
I thought they were liquidating.
Oh, that's weird.
If they're distributing it to people, that's even better.
It's better for the community, but I would still say a majority of people. Imagine if you've
Yeah.
had that locked up for that many years.
Oh yeah.
You want to sell. Most people would want or need to sell a big portion of it because now they're going from not having something that may have been worth $100 or a few $1,000s back then is worth tens of millions and millions of
Yeah.
dollars to the average person. Even if you're a person like us who may have only had $100 or something, $100 at Mount Gox going down time is what today has to be hundreds of thousands or even billions of dollars. When was Mount Gox hacked?
It was hacked a long time ago. I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm curious on whether or not they're distributing. I thought they were distributing cash.
June 13th, 2011. So Bitcoin, June 13th,
Okay.
2011.
So yeah, they're distributing Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. Now here's the thing, right? This is an interesting thought.
$18. So that's literally what's that? 7.
Well, they're distributing it. They're distributing to certain creditors.
3,166x. So if you had $100 times 3,166, you literally have $316,000. If you had $1,000 on Mount Gox, you have $3 million, right? Think about that, right? So if the average person that had money on Mount Gox now has millions of dollars in Bitcoin, they're probably going to sell some of it.
Yeah,
I would think. Maybe not, but I would think so. And so that's why price is down, right? But it's not down very much. Like, it feels and looks like it's down a lot because a small percentage is thousands of dollars now. But compared to normal crypto crazy swings, very small.
I wonder what value they get back versus what they originally put in dollar terms. Right? Are they getting their original dollars back, or if they're getting,
even if they get half, that's 1,500x their money, right?
If they get that, but are they being given back the dollar value that they originally lost? Right?
Kevin is right. If you were a small-time drug dealer in 2010 to 2011, you're now a billionaire. Well, at least a millionaire, right? A few $100 or even $1,000 gets you millions of dollars, right? It's crazy. That's what, there's very few people who were doing the Mt. Gox stuff, participating back then, that got it for either some bit of speculation happening at that point, but it was, people buying weed on the internet.
Well,
it's probably the biggest category.
So a buddy of mine was saying that he thought this is kind of bullish for Ethereum. And the reason is they're selling Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. They don't have any Ethereum to sell. And so we're going to see sell pressure on Ethereum or on Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. And because we don't have that same sell pressure on Ethereum, that could be positive for Ethereum while Bitcoin goes down.
It used to be that when something dumped hard that wasn't Ethereum or wasn't Bitcoin, at the early days, that a majority of the liquidity, majority of the money went to go buy one of those two things. But now with centralized exchanges and so many USD stablecoin kind of things, it's not necessarily true. But I think that at least some people's narrative, or people like you and I, if we do sell something, we generally put it into Bitcoin or Ethereum because that's what we believe in long term for our savings account or for our family.
I doubt myself, but like yesterday, I was buying more altcoins. But that's just because I'm trying to diversify my bag a little bit. And I mean, it's like I have my 1 in 1 million portfolio strategy where if there's 100 million, I try to buy, 100. If there's like 10 million, I try to buy 10. And I'm like, for some reason, I felt the need that hey, I don't have any Gitcoin and it's low. I don't have any Gnosis. And I'm like, that's low. And I was like, I feel like I should buy some of this, even though it's still kind of expensive. I'm not sure why I need it. I put most of it in a liquidity pool when I do buy it, but I'm just like, I know these are good, solid projects that are around, and I think they'll stick around. And so it's just like, part of me wants a little bit of diversification in some of these baskets, but I don't have anything exposure to.
Yeah,
it's probably crazy.
It's crazy, but there's crazier things. And I'm not against, like somebody buying tokens in real projects that exist, right? The thing that drives me a little nuts, and I should, as maybe not benefited me as much as I could have, but like the meme coin stuff that's just purely ridiculousness. I don't tend to participate in it unless it's like airdrop to me or something for some reason, and that's where I don't usually do it. But there are projects with real people, real communities, and when there are crazy bull runs and things move, those projects, have chance. Doesn't mean they will do something interesting. It's it's kind of like our strategy of being long in the space and investing in companies and people doing stuff, but our day job, we're not buying tokens and stuff, right? Especially
no, this is personal stuff. I'm just thinking, what if I want somebody in a decentralized environment to build me out something? I'm like, I might need some Bitcoin.
Well, yeah, for me it's Bitcoin.
I didn't know any yet, so it was like, I should buy some. So I mean, obviously those aren't financial reasons to be buying, because that's not an investment intent, right? I'm not buying it for an investment. I'm buying it because, hey, I might have some utility for this down the road, and I don't know. So Let me get some.
Yeah, well, Kevin, I mean, I think you're probably right. So he's saying can't underestimate Mt. Gox's recipients' greed, though, and therefore their inclination to remain in Bitcoin. But I think that most people who, when you think of greed in this sense, it's not super disciplined long-term holder greed. It's usually degen greed, which is what can I put this into that in the short term will get me the 10x that maybe Bitcoin will get me in many years.
No, they've already been holding for such a damn long time. So
Yeah.
you're going to get some of them that sell off to go buy the house that now they can afford because they just got a nice stack from Mount Gox.
I could imagine that if I had Bitcoin and I was holding my own Bitcoin and then I was going to get Mt. Gox, I could imagine having talks with myself going, okay, when I finally get the Mt. Gox stuff, I'm going to sell some of it to buy the thing that I haven't bought because I've been holding and I'm
Right.
super frugal. And,
Yeah.
that's kind of how I am in real life. Like I don't
Yeah.
spend.
Let's hope that's how they do it.
I mean, I think it doesn't matter, right? The fact that Mt. Gox happened and Bitcoin survived, this is nothing in comparison to that moment, right? And so I don't really care about market conditions that are going to change the price for a week or two or a month, right? I'm much too long for that in all of my feelings.
So in other crypto news, I'm hearing that the people who withdrew Alpha Celsius within 90 days before they went and filed bankruptcy or closed are now being sued for their early withdrawals because there's that 90-day window, and technically per the contracts, if you deposit in Celsius, the crypto is Celsius's, and so they're trying to do a clawback for anybody that withdrew within 90 days of their bankruptcy.
That's bullshit. That cannot stand. Who's doing that? The people who didn't withdraw within 90 days so that they're sad that they got.
I don't know who's part of the lawsuit, but they're being sued to return the money. And the thing is from what I haven't verified this because I haven't read the documents, but from what I heard is they're not suing them for the value it was in 2024. They're suing it for the value that is in 2022, which is actually more right now than it was back then. And so they're going, wait a second, it wasn't worth that much when I withdrew it. How are you suing me in today's dollars when it was cheaper back then? Like
that's another thing because that can't stand because generally in those situations, the thing that sucks for participants, right, is that like let's say you played around in some ICO and you bought 1 ETH worth. And at the moment, ETH was worth, just for round numbers, I'll say $1,000, right? And then ETH pumps up to $5,000 and the government seizes all those assets and says, you're getting your money back because we deemed this a security and we took it all and it wasn't fair, right? What the government usually does is goes, you put in $1,000, you're getting your $1,000 back. And what we would say is, no, we put in 1 ETH, we want our 1 ETH back, right? And usually you're only kind of covered for the dollar value. And
which is ridiculous.
It doesn't really protect the investor, which is ridiculous. But where it's been a problem in the past is when the opposite happens. When ETH is worth a lot, and let's say you invest in ETH and it's worth 5,000, then ETH goes down to 1,000. Then the government says, pay back the investors or shut down the business. What ends up happening is they have to shut down the business because the dollar value of the ETH is now down, right? And most people, I remember when ICOs and things were happening, would rather just keep the tokens or the whatever. But the government found ways. What ended up happening is they hurt the investors. One, depending on how the market was shifting, they either hurt the investors or they hurt the company or the projects, which both sides hurt the industry and the investor and the project. So nobody won, right?
Yeah. When you're in crypto, you got to have a different mindset. And unfortunately, the rest of the world is on a fiat mindset. And at some point, it needs to change. If you have 1 ounce of gold, you should get your 1 ounce of gold back. Easy as that. I mean, and why we look at it, oh, well, no, you should get it in dollar terms when we know the whole dollar system and pricing is completely manipulated. Why are we still thinking this way? I mean, like, the public needs to wake up to how the manipulation of the dollar is manipulated over time and how it loses, value over time. At 3%, 24 years, you lost half of your purchasing power. Well, remove that and just say, okay, 1 barrel oil, 1 barrel oil, 1 ounce of gold, 1 ounce of gold, 1 Bitcoin, 1 Bitcoin. Seems easy to me.
It seems easy, but we are so dependent on, like, we think of it as like, oh, the banks,
join us for DeFi.
Yeah, but people, like, we simplify it too. Like, to be fair, we go, it's so simple, right? But we also live in this world where it's not just the banks that would go out of business, right? And if let's say the banks all of them went out of business right now, because it is a major, huge Ponzi house of cards, right? All those things, they go out of business. All insurance companies and everything, credit and everything goes out of business, right? And now we start exactly in a new modern era of like the gold standard, or like asset for asset, right? Yeah. And there is no more leverage outside of what is physically and technically possible in a real accounting DeFi sort of way, right? So all of a sudden, credit has to be over collateralized, and all these things have to be real. And there is no fractional stuff, right, that the banks use to do this whole Ponzi house of cards. That would be a utopia in some ways, but would 90% of people be okay without a credit card, without a car payment, without right? No, I mean, a car payment, yes, in one way, the car is the collateral, but the pricing of it and the whatever would be. Imagine if every single person now absolutely had no choice but to live within their means without credit, without a significant amount of credit.
Here's the thing,
right?
You would see the
whole culture, the whole world culture would go down. We wouldn't be able to. Most people would not be able to afford their phones.
But realize the cost of everything would fall, and the reason is because credit and balloons and inflates the cost of everything.
It's what a good way that I think most people would understand it better, because it hits hard and it doesn't make any sense, is like insurance and health stuff. Right? People like to go, like, people who are super liberal, right? Who are like my friends, right? Like to go like, well, that system shows why capitalism is fucked. But that's not capitalism that's fucked. That's government and corruption at the highest level that are aligned. That's basically banking, right? It's banking and politics that have created a cabal where insurance companies can overcharge crazy amounts, where, getting insulin definitely shouldn't cost the amount that it does, right? No, but it's totally inflated, and they've made it legal for this small minority of companies and insurance companies to screw us all, right?
Yeah.
The government, they could go the opposite direction, put all of those insurance companies and banks out of business, let doctors make more money, and actually provide us all healthcare, and it would actually be cheaper, right? They could do it if they wanted to. But then the people that put them in power, would stop putting them in power, right? And so what ends up happening is we don't get socialism, we don't get capitalism, we get the worst part of both, right? Instead, right? And then,
hold on, but you're forgetting that we subsidize all the cornfields that help create the sugar.
Exactly, it doesn't make any. And guess who owns an increasing amount of farmland in this country is foreign countries and corporations too, which doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make sense.
Right? No. So, who's in charge? Do you think that most of our politicians who rail against China actually give a shit? They don't. Well, remember, I came so like offended and angry the day after one of those Republican primary things. So there was the Republican primary debate thing that was happening at the Reagan Library, which happens to be close to where I live. And the reason why I was getting tons of texts that day is because Tim Draper was actually like in the audience watching it. So everybody's like, I saw Tim Draper on TV, so they're texting me. And I watched it. And every single one of them had different takes, but they all basically blamed China for a bunch of our problems, right? And talked about what they're going to do about China. And they even mentioned TikTok and China and China and China and China was biggest problem across all of the people talking in that moment. Then they cut to commercial. And the first commercial was a commercial for TikTok. And it was a feel-good story about how a veteran of the United States that I think was an amputee or lost his legs in battle made a viral TikTok video and crowdfunded to get the money for like a special wheelchair on TikTok. And that was the story. And I was like, what the fuck? Everyone should be so angry right now because one, they're blaming China for all this stuff. You know how many millions of dollars a Chinese company just advertised on during this primary debate thing on an American news channel and basically told us in their commercial what an inept, shitty government we have, that somebody willing to risk their lives for our country, whether you agree with it or not.
I don't agree.
I don't agree why most of the wars have been fought in our country, but I do love and appreciate someone who's willing to put their life on the line and risk it all to protect me, whether I agree with them or not, right? That person's my family. And the fact that our government can't even give them a fucking wheelchair is disgusting, right? It's like the most horrible thing in the world. But they're sitting there on TV talking about China and blaming them for all of our problems, which is totally just lip service BS politics, right? Like it's fucking insane, right? And people just watch it like, oh, cute, a TikTok thing. That's so nice. People look at that and say it's so nice. Or people see like a Wounded Warrior commercial and be like, wow, this is amazing.
It's a statement that the government can't do its stuff.
It is amazing that the people of our country can get together and crowdfund and help another person. But the fact that the one person, let's say we disagree and you don't think that we should all have health care.
It was more of a statement that the government can't handle the veterans.
The fact that the one group that I would assume 100% of all people would agree on should get free healthcare and the most basic necessary things like a wheelchair if you lose your legs fighting in a war for our country, like they can't do that, right? They can't honor like giving most people I know that went to the military and then came back had to fight to get their school paid for, like they were promised and stuff like that. Like what? Like that's insane. Like it's so offensive and so crazy, right? Like, so anyway, this
got you fired up today.
Oh, but this is crazy. This is who's leading us. And I know that I said it because it was during a Republican primary and all that stuff and whatever. And I am more liberal in most of my beliefs, but the Democrats do the same thing on their side, right? They say they're number one, like I've been hearing things about like Gavin Newsom is going to potentially, when they said Joe Biden, ooh, he's one of the people, right? So I'm in California. I've seen Gavin Newsom and all these things in works. These are the same people like the mayors of Los Angeles over and over again, the mayors of San Francisco who say homelessness, right, is their number one issue they're taking care of. How many governors and mayors of the biggest cities in our state can say that their number one issue is something that's only gotten worse every single time a new one takes place? How can you pretend to be an effective person?
Well, a law just changed that is going to like create that. So the problem was there was a law that made it so that they couldn't kick people out.
Yeah, but these are
so now that they don't have an excuse. Like
it goes back and back. Let's say they could kick them out today. Where do they even put them? Right? Because during the Reagan times and them shutting down all of the state hospitals and things like that, those state hospitals were completely screwed, right? They weren't treating people right. They weren't doing it right. But they don't exist today, good or bad. So if there is someone who is hooked on drugs that needs help, where do you put them? Like in a prison that's ran by a private company, which also doesn't make any sense.
They have to put them in a prison and then they have to let them out. I mean, like I've talked to the police. You talk to the police, there's a problem in this state and nobody's really handling it.
There's a problem. There's problems everywhere, right? And there's just different ways of handling it. But it's political suicide to handle it anyway,
right?
Because it's better to say what you want to do and never do it than it is to do something. Because when you do it, you have now offended a certain group of one issue voters.
The real
But to say
problem,
things
though,
out loud, you don't offend one group enough, but you at least get the single issue voter to get you.
it's a function of our money, though,
Of course.
because our money loses value. We bring all this immigration through our borders and just allow it to happen. And if we can't sustain jobs that actually pay a living wage, people end up on the streets. Now, that's aside from the people who are taking drugs. Obviously, the people who are taking drugs.
I think the people on the streets is much less of them because of just pure economics than there is for other reasons, unfortunately. But economics is a catalyst for that stuff too. And I don't know if I don't totally agree it's a border thing, because if the border, let's say, was as porous as they say it was, it's also an economics thing where it wouldn't be worth it to come over the border if things were done right. Like there's a few sides to it, right? And the thing that's just nutty is it's a big house of cards, and I don't know, you know, like I loved
I
you
come
know, like,
more from the conservative side.
I know, but here's
so here's the thing: is this new thing that Biden just rejected, right? We're requiring an ID to vote. And it's just like the guy just let a whole bunch of people across the border. Of course, he doesn't want them to have an ID to vote. So,
yeah,
I mean, like,
how do
it's like,
yeah, but it's been debunked lots of times that the ID those people aren't really voting for real. They're not accounted for. They don't. You have to be to vote, whether with an ID or not. You have to either have paid taxes, have a driver's license, or there's one other thing I forgot what it is, right? So you're not in the system. Most people who are illegal, even if they get a job that's not an illegal job where they're not getting cash, share social security numbers, right? So there's a bunch of workers and that's a weird IRS thing that we just put blinders on. They just allow to happen because obviously, you know, there can't be I can't work, you know, 10 billion hours a week, right? But there are families where somehow some one person has 10 jobs, right? Yeah. And those are the things that happen.
I have no problem against immigrants. I have a whole bunch of friends who are immigrants too. I just
you know, you just reminded me of I'm gonna make fun of you, but it's not really. I know you, and I know you're a great person, so you're not this guy. But there is do you remember in the early days of the internet, there are very few parody and funny websites and stuff like that. It was like websites, it took effort. You had to be a nerd, or you had to pay some money to serve it somewhere to host it. So, but there was, in the early days of the web, one of the first funny parody websites was a website called blackpeopleloveus.com. Look it up. There's got to be somewhere. And it was like a white couple who, it was very, like, everything was racist, but it was like in a funny way where it's like, black people love us, you know? And it was like, you know, like, I'm not racist. I've got one black friend, you know? It's like this whole funny, stupid thing. But when you said like, I've got friends who are immigrants, but okay. To get back to reality, right? Like,
thanks for that, putting that light on.
No. So
my wife's families are immigrants. So I mean, like, look, we're all immigrants at some point.
My parents were immigrants. I worked and grew up, you know, in Southern California with immigrants. I don't think it's the issue. And if you're, you know, extreme on the libertarian side or extreme on the liberal side, you don't believe in these borders anyway, right?
Well, no, actually, I would love that. I would love it just to have the open border world.
It would fix all these bunch of problems. But the problem is, it would be worse for people like us who live in great countries, whether we hate the leadership or not. We still are in a better country than Mexico. Right? So in Mexico,
I don't know. Right? We have to find some way to decentralize leadership.
Exactly. Right. That's where the future hopefully is going. But going back to the whole, if the whole system came apart, right, and the banks, which allowed them to go out of business and all that stuff, and it went all the way down to the only credit you could get was real credit, the way you're talking about, we have to undo the last, I don't know, 70, 100 years of consumerism, right? We have a culture where, like, imagine if I told my kids, like, hey, this is it. No more, like, you can't sign up. You wouldn't be able to sign up for a phone plan and get an iPhone, right? Because that's all stacked on credit, on credit, on credit, on credit. This thing, you know.
this is what impresses me though, like about DeFi, right? So these liquidity pools, and there was a liquidity pool a while back, and liquidity was pulled out of it, right? And so it was imbalanced, right? But because we have this great open market system in the world of DeFi, right? I knew that this pool was imbalanced, so I wasn't going to put much money into it because I knew there would be slippage there, right? Bitcoin in this pool was like valued at like 27,000 when it was at 57, right? And what's funny is I decided to put a little bit of Bitcoin and a stable coin into this pool, and instantly it rebalanced the pool. Now I lost $6 in arbitrage fees, like, and like being arbitrage, and I absolutely knew that was going to happen. But as soon as I went in, it literally instantly rebalanced the pool because of the bots and everything that's out there trading. If there's money to be had, it will be readjusted, right? And this is what's so awesome about DeFi,
and that requires no bank branch. It doesn't require a ton of human intervention. It requires an engineer one-time building. Yeah.
And it's just awesome. If there is money,
but that's a true free market system. That's what idealists who say capitalism is awesome say is awesome. But what's funny about it is it's also, in a digital way, if it's controlled by governance and stuff like that, the way we talk about, it's also the purest form of a union. So you get, at the same time of it being the most free market capitalism thing with outside intervention, it's also managed and run by the most socialist ideal union system there is. And that's the most democratic thing you could possibly have, right? So it's like, when we talk about the United States, people talk about the union, right? Because we're and it gets further and further away. So what's funny is that politicians on any side, and whether you're extremely liberal or you're extremely libertarian, which is very similar in your beliefs too, you should be so stoked on this stuff, but people don't really know it or understand it yet, right? I think that's the biggest issue.
I talk to experienced people all the time in the crypto space, and they still haven't heard of protocols that I like.
Well, I think that's always gonna be, because it's an ever expanding thing, right? Like think about, like, I used to be I'd meet some traditional VCs, and I'd be like one of the 2-3 people they knew in the crypto space. And I could tell them about different things, whatever. Now, the traditional VCs, who still 99% of the times outside of the crypto space, might hang with me and they'll be like, "What do you think of this thing?" And I'll be like, "I don't even know what you're talking about," right? And we're full time in this all of the time. You say things that I don't catch. I've never heard of all the time, right? And if I went to you and talked to you about, I don't know, some of the, I was on an Onera board meeting recently and talked about some of the companies in that side. I might mention them to you and you wouldn't know those, right? And we're both full time. But that's kind of a stepping stone, TradFi to DeFi. But
we're bridging. DGB is bridging the gap to TradFi.
That's right. So the keeping the balance in the force until the time is right, and we can.
Well, it's about skating to where the puck is going, right?
I tell people to their face, and maybe this is because I'm okay with being the weirdo in the room in the TradFi world, but I tell the bankers and people who participate in those things to their face, I'll say, "I am the Trojan horse. You will be out of business." And they like condescendingly laugh at us, and they give us, a goofy smile because they have years and years of kind of superiority to us, at least how in the way they feel. Which is part of why those systems will go down too. They're ran by an old regime who thinks they're infallible.
It's not going to go down and go away. I think it's just going to transform into like USDC and some stablecoin, version, which is going to be hilarious because I don't think a lot of them understand the DeFi, the electronic system, and how money works.
Yeah, but in the meantime, if they have to compete with DeFi products, and they have to compete with the margins in DeFi, they will have to dramatically change their business.
Hey, a lot of that's been falling, though. A lot of that has been falling because the thing is it is DeFi. Their margins in DeFi are so dependent upon transactions and trading.
Yeah,
right. And
but but the thing is, same with banking, right? The fees come from somewhere,
Yes.
and they
From that
either
trading.
but there's also, the more they have, the more activity they can do. They can create more
Correct.
products. The more
Absolutely.
liquidity and money there is in DeFi, the more new products and things can be created, and the more I can leverage that to buy my home or buy a car or
Yeah.
do whatever I want to do with it, right? And what'll happen is, it's over time. Think about when crypto first started, the exchanges could charge exorbitant fees because it was just, they weren't competing, right?
Yeah.
Now they can't. And now, as other products come into that world, like there's going to be a moment where it's already happening, but the centralized exchanges are going to be basically the providing DeFi products, maybe at slightly higher fees than going directly on chain, but still way lower than the amount of fees that a bank has to charge to just pay the employees and pay commissions
Yeah.
and keep that system
I,
going.
I
Right?
think that's going to be the big awakening, is when if the credit starts getting tighter with banks, and the wealthy realize they can own crypto and then borrow against it and choose their rate that they
It's
want to borrow at.
here's
It's going to be
here's the
huge.
thing is, they're learning they can do that now, but they're not holding crypto, they're holding other things. And
Yeah.
the banks manage on behalf of their private people, not even the public stocks. So the public stocks is a different beast because it already
Yeah.
exists, it's already priced in real time and stuff like that, or close to real time, and all that. But there's all these other things that people own: their homes, private
Yeah.
shares in companies, and everything else, that only a top percentage of people can call up a banker and say, "Hey, I need a loan to buy a new home, but take a look at this whole portfolio of stuff," and the bank can make exceptions. You and I can't call a bank and get a banker to make any exceptions based on anything, because the bank would go out of business because they can't handle that kind of workload, right? But when things are digital, here's where the RWA promise, I think, is actually very real. When the product is digitized, when things exist like Ivory, one of our portfolio companies, to potentially provide a spot price on an illiquid or less liquid asset, then a
Yeah.
bank can look at that and provide cash against it without a human being intervening. The
Yeah.
actual digitization and real time or close to real time status means
The
that
Oracle
we
clock.
don't have to talk to a person. A dude with a clipboard doesn't have to come to your house to appraise the value, do the thing, to look at my shares of stock in DGB and go, well, how much is that worth, and this and that. They can just go, hey, we're not going to, let you leverage it or something, but they can give a meaningful amount. And that one thing, DeFi like lending and liquidity in real world assets, is a multi-trillion-dollar market that is unlocked for the major banks when they adopt our technology, right? And that is, in my opinion, the stepping stone for the wealthier folks and the everyday person into crypto and DeFi, because they'll start going, what other things can I own that could instantly give me liquidity, right? So I think that's where we're going.
No, I think so too.
We're over time, and we got to jump to
So
a
how do they
meeting.
find us? How do they find us, real quick?
Yeah, go to dgb.vc. This week there'll be a pop-up up on there too, so you can sign up to the newsletter and you can be notified of all sorts of things like that. But in the meantime, if you just send us a message in the contact form, you'll be thrown into the newsletter. If you're an early stage company that hasn't raised money yet, or even if you have, but the earlier you are, the better, contact us. We'd love to get involved and learn about what you're doing. And if you're an investor who wants to participate in this space, get in touch, because we're always sharing deals and working on things. So reach out to us. We will see you guys next week. We're going to start having some, I want to bring on Lunar Crush because of the buzz economy now, and all sorts of other portfolio companies. So stay tuned. There's going to be some fun shows in the weeks ahead. Thanks, everyone. Peace.
Peace.